John Stoker. John is CEO and founder of DialogueWORKS, the leading provider of real talk, a best-selling solution for creating real conversations for results. John's also the author of the acclaimed book, Overcoming Fake Talk, and its solutions have helped thousands of organizations and countless individuals acquire the skills to talk with anyone, anytime, and about anything. So, John, take it away.
Thanks, Brett. Let's begin today by talking a little bit about kind of what the trends are for 2017. In fact, any of you who are listening on, I'd really be interested in hearing kind of what's going on in your organization. If you want to chat me a note in the little chat box that's down there in the lower right, that'd be fantastic. But here's kind of some of the things we've been seeing. Professional development seems to really be in flux in terms of what would be the best strategy. How do we do it shorter? How do we do it quicker? Do we do it online? Do we do it in person? It's a question people continue to ask. About 2 years ago, we were looking at doing something online, and then I met with the executives of Wilson Learning, and I was a little shocked. And they told me, gosh, you know, we don't do online stuff. We found in our research that 93% of people never finish an online course, which didn't make me very happy. In addition to that, there's more and more millennials who are kind of coming into the work population, and many of them, because of their background in electronics, are not very good at holding one-on-one conversations. So there's an increased opportunity there. And then, you know, it's the same kind of the age-old question, getting executive agreement and alignment around budget allocation and how are we going to do professional development, how are we going to pay for it, will it really make a difference? If you look at that question at the top, would you agree that the more things change, the more they stay the same? Everybody seems to be changing, and yet the whole challenge around holding difficult conversations or being able to talk about what matters most continues to be a challenge I believe that everybody has. So what might be impossible, I want you to know now is possible. Real talk, we've just spent the last 6 months working over the content of the course, and it's much easier now to deliver. And that's great because there's opportunities for a whole new generation of learners to be supported in their learning endeavors and to improve their leadership development and their professional skills. And we believe that we're offering a very cost-efficient approach for creating executive alignment with what organizations actually want to spend and the results that they get. So what's kind of the delivery? Well, we've written the course so that in reality you could teach part of it, half of it, in one day in terms around core content, and then come back a week later, 3 to 6 months later, and teach the second day. That way you continue to be able to, if you will, individualize and socialize the learning experience with people who are having a kind of a challenging situation in a particular organization's culture. We also have moved to a virtual trainer certification for those people who are trained in other products. However, we would highly recommend that you complete a workshop either in an open enrollment or an on-site kind of an experience, and then prepare and present content to one of our expert facilitators via video or phone conference. If you've been previously certified in a different program, for example, like fierce conversations or crucial conversations or difficult conversations, then we'd actually want to do if you want a virtual certification, given that you've had experience teaching dialogue or real talk before. So there's an opportunity to get started and do some teach back over the net and not have to do it in person. So we've improved the leaders' materials for increased efficiency. And the content has been more focused around key discussion items along with facilitation tips, which allows that prep time can be between 3 to 4 hours for the initial workshop. So if you can see those pages below, which I assume you can, what we've really done is we've put the presentation into the slides. There are still trainer tips in the material so that you can kind of prepare in that way. But at the same time, what we've also done is integrated all the video recordings that we use, the segments that demonstrate good and poor examples of communication, into the slide presentation itself. And at the same time, we've shot a number of author videos where certain key or challenging points that people may struggle to learn are already embedded in the presentation. So a facilitator can either choose to view those for his audience and then answer questions, or simply teach it themselves. Some of the changes we've made. We've basically rolled all the content into a model that's totally integrative. For example, if you look at the bottom of the slide, you can see the red line there. We really believe that if you want dialogue, or real talk is a choice. And that if you cross the line or go above the line, then you're placing yourself in a position to hold a conversation that gets results, improves the relationship, and creates respect. So the yellow circle around the outside, you can see that results, respect, and relationship. Everybody talks about wanting to hold the difficult conversation to get results, but they often don't deal with respect and relationship. And the reason the arrows run as they do, we really believe you can't talk about results without also not talking about respect and relationship. So the whole purpose of the Real Talk training, quite frankly, is not only to get results, but to communicate and interact with others in such a way that respect is created and the relationship is improved. Inside that, you'll notice there's a blue ring. Kind of call that the knowledge ring. There's certain things you got to know. So notice where it says choose to be conscious in that upper right-hand quadrant. That's about awareness. You want to learn to be aware of what's going on in a conversation dynamically, to be able to manage it. Do to know is there's certain models we'd like you to know that if you'll follow them, and 4 easy steps, it'll make the conversation go smoother and be very easy to execute. Then there's a section on being prepared, where it says prepare or beware there. That there's just a few simple things you need to do to be prepared to hold a potentially difficult conversation. And then reflections is about interaction styles, the styles that people bring. So there's things to know about awareness, about knowledge, about preparation, and style. The red ring inside are the 4 skills. We call this kind of the action ring. And so the skills of real conversations, as you probably gathered, is recognizing and suspending, expressing ourselves, how do we ask questions, and do we listen and attend. And the diamond in the center is the process that we use for holding any difficult conversation. So we've simplified the model, provide easier point of entry, reminders of key concepts, and encapsulated major levers for improving your communications that basically will enhance the relationship and positively impact your results. As I said earlier, we've integrated new video. So what we've done in the video, if you look at the little frame beneath it, we put the setup for the video in the slide to make it easy for a presenter to just say, hey, you know, you can see we're gonna notice how respect, relationships, and results are impacted as Tanya and Lisa talk about a scheduling change. You show the video. And then the author videos, you can see they're differentiated. Also describes certain things around the model or a particular difficult concept. So all the videos are actually embedded in the presentation with automatic cueing for play and pause control. You can choose to show the video or you just click past it. You don't click on it. So it's pretty smooth in terms of how it's laid out and easy to use. So we really believe in engaging our audience. And around doing that, one of the things that we're doing is basically, we've just said, integrated the video with expert overviews and key concepts, which you can either play or not. We've changed a number of the exercises to continue to create greater self-awareness around things that people are working on or need to work on, and at the same time given opportunities for individual action planning of things that people need to work on. There's a self-assessment, obviously, that comes with it as pre-work, so that people come in with kind of a notion of where they should improve or what they should do differently that will help to focus their learning during the course of the course. And obviously, there's opportunities for personal application to individual challenges that people are experiencing and group interaction, so people get a chance to actually listen and learn, from one another. So continue to engage audience, very important to us. We built that into the presentation. So what do participants get? We've actually built kind of a system, but let me kind of go through the first two bullets, then we'll talk about follow-up support. So we typically send out a self-assessment as pre-work before a course would begin, where a person will identify a potentially difficult conversation that they're either holding not very well or avoiding altogether. So they come with something in mind and they take a self-assessment that helps to identify perhaps where they need to spend some attention in terms of what they're trying to do. When participants come to the class, they bring that with them. They get a copy of my book, Overcoming Fake Talk, and a participant manual. And we've also created some tool cards, which are fun from the perspective of people being able to use them after the class to cue themselves and to remind themselves on certain skills that they've learned that they could apply and use. We've also created what we call the Real Talk audio library that we give to participants on a thumb drive. This is about 8 hours of audio that deal with the 8 principles of Real Talk. There are stories that are told that are not in the course or the book, and there are even some additional skills that are not in the course or the book. So we felt like we wanted to continue to help people to develop their skills after the course was over. So we did that by reviewing the concepts that they learned in the course and giving them other application. Then there's our follow-on support. We have an application we call Cues and Do's. Cues and Do's are an email series that participants get after the course is over. They can either sign up during the course if they want to their company email or to a personal email, and they get one of those every other week for 24 weeks. See a little example of one right there in the slide. So what they come with is the list of principle of something that they learned in the course, and then there's a cue section, some things that they ought to look for, certain behaviors that should cue them, that they need to use a particular skill. And then there are do's, some actual suggestions of some things that a person might do to address a particular cueing challenge. There's also an app, the Real Talk app, which is available both on the iPhone and on Android, that people download to their phone. And what's kind of fun about it is they can carry it with them and on the fly or sitting at lunch or on the tram or the light rail could actually pull it up and create a conversation which they could save and then refer to in preparation for a conversation they need to hold. Then there's an optional 360-degree profile that's available. The way that this works, and a number of organizations have used it during the last 2 years, is they'll do the 360-degree profile first. People will bring those profiles to the training and then we'll debrief on those. What's cool about the 360-degree profile, it's also built in together with what we call the phone coach or mini surveys. So what would happen is, let's say somebody took the profile, they take the class. During the class, they can identify up to 3 people that can leave them voicemail messages of encouragement that would call whatever phone they identified at a time that they identified. And so maybe your cell phone rings and there's a call with a coaching message from somebody that you've identified, encouraging you to keep working on your skill. Those come weekly. And then the mini surveys occur at 3, 6, and 9 months after the training, where an individual can select up to 3 questions they want to receive feedback on from the same group that they initially surveyed. A person can go in and change the questions that they use in the survey and can add other people to take those mini surveys, and the individual gets feedback on the 3 questions, and there's also opportunity for written comments. So you can see what we've done is tried to build a cadre of tools that will not only help people to learn the skills that we're teaching so they can hold these difficult conversations, but at the same time reinforce the things that they've learned. So, you know, we talk about why real talk. We have a simplified model for holding difficult conversations. It's a 4-step process that can be learned and used in any conversation that a person is finding themselves in immediately. In fact, this next book I'm working on is called 8 Conversations Every Leader Ought to Know How to Hold. And we just use that simple 4-step process to address a number of different kinds of situations, be it change or coaching or conflict resolution or reducing defensiveness. We've added some skills for improving one's emotional intelligence, which seems to be the hot topic, and for conflict resolution. So we felt like we couldn't really offer a course in communications without linking to emotional intelligence and giving people some skills to improve that aspect of their interactions with others and how to solve a conflict more successfully. We believe that we're economical in terms of our delivery. There's obviously, in terms of participant costs, we're at least 1/3 cheaper than the competition. And there's a virtual certification process so that you can get certified and do-it-yourself delivery. So our question is, I guess, is, you know, how can we serve you? You'll notice on this slide there's an email you could contact us, and we're going to be in touch anyway. But I just want you to know that I'm kind of prepared to make an offer today that may be unheard of. We really want your business. And so if you've certified in fierce conversations or crucial conversations or productive conversations or difficult conversations, what we'd really be willing to do is give you a $99 credit per participant toolkit, up to 100 of those kits. If that's something that's of interest to you, we'd really love to visit with you. Brett, anything you want to add? Well, I don't know where Brett went, but we have an upcoming event that you might be interested in. We're holding a Real Talk workshop in the Salt Lake City area on October the 26th through the 27th, with a certification the day after. And obviously virtual certifications are available and scheduled regularly if you'll contact us for availability.
John, I'm actually here now. Sorry for muting and then muting again, but I wanted to thank you for doing a good job and invite people to submit any questions they have via chat. We intended to keep this brief, but we do want to answer any questions you might have and hold the phone for just a minute. John, one question that we've received directed to us was on that upgrade offer again. Can you repeat that just for the people on the line?
Okay, so if you've certified in another course, which for us says that you're familiar with principles of dialogue, be it fierce conversations, crucial conversations, productive conversations, or difficult conversations. Those are some of the other companies that are out there that offer a communication solution. That we would give a $99 credit per participant toolkit for up to 100 toolkits. So let's say you had 100 toolkits sitting in your closet, and we'd talk about how we want to verify that we were giving you that kind of credit. That if those, for example, cost you $265 a piece, we would give you $99 credit per toolkit toward the price of our materials, which would include all those things that I mentioned: a copy of the book, the workshop, participant manual, the tool card kit, the audios, and of course the cues and do's and the app and the like. Does that make sense?
I think you answered it, John. One other question is, even though you can't go into commenting on what other courses do, maybe talk about what you think sets Real Talk apart from those so-called competitors, and why others should be considering Real Talk as an option for their team or their organization.
Well, that's tough because I can't do that without talking about the individual courses. But let me make I guess a specific and maybe vague comparison. One of the things that I think sets us apart is our model. We have a 4-step model, which is referred to as initiate, discover, connect, and build. And once you learn the model, it's a complete model, so it tells you how to start. That's what initiation is all about. And discovery is about asking questions and understanding the other person and their point of view. And connection is about summarizing and getting clear about what your expectations are, and talking about consequences if you were doing a performance conversation for non-performance. And then build is where you actually create the solution with the other person about what's going to change in terms of outcomes or their behavior. So the thing that's wonderful about it is that you always know where to start, you always know where you are in the conversation, and you always know when you're complete. That's one thing. And another, I think, distinguisher is that we've developed a model that's in our listening and attending section for dealing with why people become emotional or defensive, and what to do to diffuse that defensiveness. That's really about being emotionally intelligent. It's about understanding yourself, why you may become emotional, and why other people become emotional, and then the simple 4-step process for moving through what we call the ease model for recreating the ease or comfort in a conversation so you can go forward. And the other courses that I've mentioned, as far as I know, and anything around listening or attending, they don't do that or offer a component of emotional intelligence in that particular way. In fact, many of them will say, well, let's listen for the lack of safety, and then let's ask these kinds of questions to basically kind of create safety. So in many of them, there's nothing per se that deals specifically with listening. A third thing that's different is we spend quite a bit of time in the recognition and suspension section talking about what we call in our field mental models, or the paradigms or the belief windows that people have, and how those get in the way and how they cause us to interact with others, which consequently impacts our results. And so being able to recognize your thinking and challenge it for its accuracy, and being able to set it aside to engage with another person, I think is another real differentiator, if you will. And in part of that, we also deal a little bit with the brain traps, the thinking traps that we commonly fall into. And what we ought to do is be aware of them so we can manage them more effectively. If I was making it short, there'd probably be 3 things that are substantially different about those other courses and us.
Thanks, John. I've got a question from Chad. You're advocating here workshop or classroom training. Talk to why you think that is advantageous over more virtual methods that are being offered today. You talked about that earlier, but just revisit that point.
I would say, you know, a virtual training where we had a number of people online could be okay. I think the challenge is that when you don't hold a class with a group of people, that the opportunity to interact with those people and observe other people's behaviors are severely diminished. At the same time, you know, when a person says, well, I have this kind of a challenge, and somebody else says, well, I have it too, can you help that with that? You can address it in such a way that everybody gets to learn from the people who brought up an issue. At the same time, oftentimes when we teach a certain concept and then we ask people to prepare something along the line of that concept, and then you ask them to demonstrate that concept for the rest of the group, that's pretty hard to do, you know, virtually. So virtually, I think you miss out on a high degree of socialization and the opportunity for people to kind of share or ask questions that allows the whole group to learn. I mean, there's some of that, granted, but I don't think it's as great as if you're doing it together in a group. In fact, what was, like I said, really discouraging is when Wilson Learning shared with me their research around 93% of people never finishing an online course. And I'm going, wow. So it's like, let's check the box and do it shorter. I think it's easier to do a course in person, and you could chunk it up and have people come back and bring their learning and have the opportunity to engage in that socialization process and make application to the skills that everybody gets to learn from. That would be my response.
Thanks, John. I've got a question from Stella. Do you have any examples of how this has helped individuals or teams down the road, you know, 3 months out, 6 months out of the training experience?
Well, some that I could share and some I can't. I was working with an executive team last week in Seattle, where we went through the training a year ago, and they've gone through and used the tools, and they asked me to come back and deal with particular challenges. And then they asked me to sit in and watch and coach them as they held a number of difficult conversations with other people on the team. And they are night and day different in terms of, you know, whatever they've been able to do. If you want specifics, you know, we worked at an aerospace organization a number of years ago where they tasked us with trying to get the time down in the construction of a particular product. It was taking them roughly 18 months to build a certain product. And we got it down within 2 years to, you know, 11 months. And the reason that they brought us in was because they felt like people were not talking about or being honest or candid about what was not working. And so it was used as a way to improve their, if you will, the results in terms of cutting down time. Another organization, after they'd done a survey, boy, it was an organization that had high disrespect. And the results is that they were basically turning over roughly 24% of the working population every year, which basically totaled millions of dollars in terms of money it was costing to retrain people and the like. And so they brought us in to help teach respect and give those skills to hold difficult conversations. And within 18 months, the turnover rate had dropped to about 9%, which is, you know, a huge savings for them, and we kind of went from there. So if this person would like to, Stella would like to talk offline, I'm happy to hold a conversation and give other examples. I'd really like to know what the challenge is and then talk about how we could use the course content to address or meet that challenge, if that makes sense.
Thanks, John. Maybe you could jump back to the model slide and answer this question from Ricky. How much is theory versus practice in the workshop today?
Gosh, it's a lot. There's a lot of practice. In fact, several of our clients, I won't name company names, left some of those other clients that I mentioned because they just felt like there wasn't enough practice. There was a lot of watching videos and talking about what people were seeing in the videos, but not a lot of practice. So I would say, in every phase of the model, there's opportunities to practice, particularly here, because what we do is ask participants to identify the conversation that they want to work on, and then the skills that we teach, we basically have them build the conversation. So in that instance, we'll have them role play first generic situations, business situations that we've created for them, and then we'll have them put the finishing touches on their own conversation come the next morning, get a chance to practice that. So then there's an opportunity to practice again when we get to the discovery section around asking, where they'll use the model, initiate, discover, connect, and build, and then practice asking certain types of questions as the people interact. So I would say there's three opportunities for what we often refer to as real plays, but all throughout the whole course, people are practicing the skills they're learning and building them into the conversations that they're preparing to hold. Love to talk about that more offline as well.
One last question. I think we have time for one more, and then we should wrap up in respect of everyone's time today. This is another question from Ricky. How would you position Real Talk 2.0? Is it a coaching tool for managers, or can it be used for everyone in the organization?
It could be used for everyone in the organization. In terms of coaching, where real coaching takes place is in discovery. And so we have been asked by some clients to add a particular coaching component, the questions that we would use in a coaching conversation. And if you're into coaching, Ricky, the bottom line is that coaching is about helping other people to solve their own problems. And you do that with the types of questions that you ask. So you could use the model to hold a coaching conversation very simply, and we've done that in other places.
All right, thanks, John. Let's wrap up today. I'm hearing some virtual applause for you, John. Thanks, well done. I think the world is excited about Real Talk 2.0, and we want to thank everyone for joining the call today. We will send you a link to this recording so you can review it again or share it with others in your organization. We look forward to the opportunity of working with you again. If you want to contact us, info@dialogueworks.com is the best email address, or visit dialogueworks.com to access the Contact Us form or our phone number. Thanks again for joining today, and we hope to talk to you again soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.